Hello and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. It's fantastic to have you joining me here today. And today I'm joined by another special guest. Andy Phillips has worked in the digital marketing for over 20 years and is an active property investor himself since 2001. Andy works with Simon Zucci and Andy Haynes on the Facebook group, the PIN Community, the Property Investors Network, which he has built up to over 18,000 members in just 20 months, which is pretty remarkable in itself. He has been working with property investors and speaking at property events for the last 10 years. His companies provide digital marketing solutions for business owners and a smart and robust new system, which we're going to talk about today, called the Property Pipeline Pro, an all-in-one package to get property investors online fast. He is also an author, musician, speaker, and trainer. Welcome to the show, Andy. It's fantastic to have you here.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Great. So, Andy, obviously the listeners may know you from the PIN community, where you're always doing interviews. I've been interviewed as well, and it's a great place to be, to learn from others. But they might not know the man behind the mic, so to speak. So if you could just, tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I've been in property since 2001, as you say, and when I started, it was those days when it was a bit like the Wild West, as far as finance and mortgage and all that sort of thing was around. And when I started, we could do that no money down deal thing, get a discount and use it as a deposit. So when I first started doing it, I thought it was an incredible place to be because I was in the IT industry. By that time, I'd actually come out of the IT industry and went into running my own businesses in digital security. So, which is where I was in IT, and I just sort of transferred it into my own business. So I've been, a business owner since 2000 or 1998 actually, which is a long time ago. But I started doing the digital security side and just sort of went into more marketing because in my IT days I was in sales and marketing, and it absolutely fascinated me. I mean, marketing still does. It absolutely fascinates me because it's why do people do things? Why do people buy stuff? What's the hot buttons? How does that actually work? What do you have to do to actually get people to know you, like you, trust you enough to part with money or part with time or whatever it is? What did it take to click that button on a page? This fascinates me, the psychology, which has sort of kept me running for all this time. That's the thing. The psychology of marketing is the thing that has really, really, sort of pushed me forward and made me want to understand more and more and more. I'm always learning. I've just been on holiday, and I took with me, sitting on the beach, just reading a book called Sell Like Crazy, which is, again, just another marketing book. And the weird thing is, although I know a lot of the stuff in there, it's really good to just keep on pumping that information into your brain and reminding you what you're actually trying to do when you market your business. So, 2001, I started the property side. I sort of went into marketing in a big way and actually started my own marketing agency probably in sort of 2002, 2003. And I've been running ever since, running my own business, running my own marketing business, focusing in the last 10 years, probably more than anything else, on sales funnels and the concept of sales funnels. So we build all our websites, or all the websites we build for clients are actually funnels rather than websites. They're not on WordPress. They're on more of a funnel technology platform, which is really, really important nowadays. It's more important now than ever before. So that's where the Property Pipeline Pro thing came in. When you're actually trying to create something which is a presence online for a client, and we've worked in lots of different industries, lots of different sectors, but now we're focusing 100% on the property investor because it's a community that I know very well. I mean, you mentioned that I run the PIN community for Simon Zucci, and I've been doing that for quite a few years. But a little while ago, so 22 months ago, we decided to take it out of being a private group into a public group, and there was something like 500 people in there. In the private group, and we opened it up to the public, and we've built it up now to nearly 18,000 people. So, it's been a quite a meteoric rise of that Facebook group, and it's really, really quite good. I mean, I know you're in there, giving some information and giving them some advice along the way from your experience, which is really what it's all about. It's like sharing experience, asking questions, and more importantly, answering questions for other people as well. So it's a really great group to be in.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And I think, I mean, if we go back, obviously fascinated in marketing, but also the systems and the way marketing has been being done changes all the time. So it's something that you've really got to keep the pulse with, and you've got to stay on top of. And, over the years, have you seen remarkable changes in how marketing is put out there and how it goes out to the public?
Yeah, from a technical point of view, it's changed a lot. From a psychological point of view, it's changed not one jot.
Right.
You still have to do exactly the same things as they used to do in, sort of 1850. If you look at some of the adverts in some of those old newspapers, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're understanding who their audience actually is. They profile their clients. They look at what the blockages are, what the problems those people are having, and provide solutions to those problems. And we're doing exactly the same today as they did in 1850. The only difference is, and I've seen a tremendous change in the way technology platforms work. I mean, when I first started, I said that I started working in doing things like some marketing stuff right back in the year sort of 1998, 2000. I actually put my first website up in 98, which is a massive challenge for us at the time, because there was no WordPress. There was nothing like that. I mean, there wasn't even the internet, probably. Well, there was, but it was very, very sparse. And I can remember trying to understand how to put a website up around sort of 1998. And there was a little program called Dreamweaver and a few other little ones, but it was all HTML. So all coding.
Right.
And that was a massive challenge. I got a book on HTML, which is like this thick, like huge, like a Bible, and we just found ways of actually creating it. And we actually sold websites at the end of the 90s to clients, and they were big clients. These were not, everyday people. This was huge companies, and we were selling them for like £8,000 to £10,000 in 98. So I've gone right from there and seen all the technologies going up. Saw the internet create different opportunities and different technologies coming in. And one of the biggest things was the ability to be able to do things like social media posting, and ads have come in, Facebook ads and all that sort of stuff, Google ads. We had an ad agency at one point, and again, really, really interesting how that has grown to the point today where you can get and do as much as you possibly can yourself. The biggest problem is that most people, I think, don't really understand the route they need to take. They've forgotten about the psychology of the marketing, rather than they can do some of the technology themselves, but most things don't work. If you talk to a lot of people, I talk to literally hundreds and hundreds of property investors that want to get out to a wider audience, but just find it really, really difficult to get the closure. So we look at their whole process, and the process is psychologically wrong right from the start. And so if you start from the wrong place, you end up in the wrong place. So one of the things that I've been doing over the years, I've done some training. I did some training with Simon a few years ago, which is called Business Marketing Rebuild. And we had sort of 90 people in the room, and a lot of those people have now gone on to become really good marketers, because what I was focusing on that training wasn't the technology, it was the psychology. What you actually need to do to get people from one place to the next. And that is, to me, is my passion, is the psychology of marketing, and just using the technology to get the results you want. And that's probably the most important thing, is to just try and understand that marketing process. So when we take a client on for Property Pipeline Pro, part of that process is trying to educate them to become a marketer. Because the most important thing is, when you move from that position of, I'm a property investor and I've done a couple of deals and things like that, you start to look in You start looking to get into a much wider audience. You know, property is really about two things. It's about deals and money. It's really that simple. You need to find the deals and you need to find the money. And that's not when you're first starting. When you're first starting, you might have some cash. You might be putting some deposits down and things like that. But there comes a point where you've got some good deals coming through, but you don't have the money to do those deals. So you really need to go out and find some people who have a lot of money but no time. So investors that have money and they want to invest in property but don't have the time to do it, and you can help them do that. So, and that's whether you're doing things like property sourcing, or you've got some property projects that you're doing. That sort of looking out to other investors, you can do that with the low-hanging fruit. So if you go to a PIN meeting, for instance, you'll find some people who have got some cash and no time, and they may be a good fit for you, but they may not be. They may not be looking for the sort of projects you're doing, or they might not be looking for source properties specifically. So you get to a point, I think, where you need to go and widen your audience out. You need to find more people and tell them what you're doing. That takes marketing. That's where the marketing comes in. And, you know, as you know as well as I do, that most people aren't marketers. They're not looking at their business as a marketing process. And that's really what I try and help people with, is to help them to see it as a marketing process. It's a discipline in its own right. And that's the process we try and go through. With Property Pipeline Pro, we're hitting one part of that process. But as part of that, and this is putting up things like what most people call websites, are actually funnels, but they, for all intents and purposes, they're websites to the outside world. So we would put something like an investor-facing website with all the things that, not just the actual page that they need, but all the functionality behind it, all the automation, you know, the pipelines and CRMs and email automation and things like that. Now, this sort of thing takes people a long time to get done. If they're doing it themselves and they've brought in a web developer, you know, and then someone who can do their email marketing, or they might need different products and things like that. This is the problem I'm trying to solve, because I talk to a lot of people in the industry, and the biggest problem they have is they don't know where to start most of the time. You know, if you imagine, you know, going to a PIN meeting or doing some training, and then you people starting saying, well, you really need to get out to a much wider audience. You need to go and maybe put some websites up, or you know, all those sort of things. Where do you go? Do you go to a web designer? Does that web designer know anything about property? Do they know anything about actual marketing? A lot of web designers aren't really marketers. They're web designers. You know, they've niched down and they can build websites. You tell them what to do, they'll go and build it, which actually means that you need to tell them what you want. Now, if you don't know what you want, you're in a bit of a sticky wicket. So I spoke to a property investor the other day. He said 3 websites up. He's been trying to get it up and running for 5 years. He's scraped to the point where it's basically working. But now he's going to ditch it all and go for Property Pipeline Pro, because it's doing everything he wanted to do without all the hassle. Because we do all the tech. We don't expect people to do tech, but we have an onboarding process which we work with them. You know, we do all the technology. We put everything in place. So instead of them spending 2-3 years trying to do it, and I know that when people listen to this, they're going to say, well, I could probably get it done quicker than that. Most people don't. If you know technology, fantastic, knock yourself out. But most people don't have that technical capability. They don't have the technical mindset, and it's a massive, massive blocker. And all we're doing is we're removing that blockage, and we're getting 2 sites up. We put 2 sites up, which is investor facing, and it's got the functionality to things like pipelines and CRMs and everything else in the background, which they don't really need to know too much about. They just need to know how to use it, so they can go out to a much wider audience. So they've got a home on the internet, because, you know, if you look at the customer journey is normally they get to know, like, and trust you on things like social media. So you need to start doing a social presence, getting there consistently, doing videos and things like that. You know, the biggest thing you need to do is to get out and just tell the world what you're doing. The next part of the customer journey is you probably might start moving into ads and things like that, where you need a company that actually does ads, that understands the property marketplace, that understands what you're trying to achieve. And the last part of that is this home on the internet, where you've got a website, you've got automation, you've got email automation, you've got pipelines and all that sort of thing. That's the part we provide. We provide that section of the overall journey, because if you don't have that, there's no point doing social media, because you've got nowhere to point them to. If you don't have the websites and all the automation and everything else at the back end, there's no point doing ads, because you've got nowhere to send the ads. So the customer journey is going one way, but the build needs to go the other. You need to start with your online presence, which is your websites, your automation, all those sort of things. If you can get that in place and get it really, really solid and robust and know how to use it, then you can start looking at things like social media ads and getting out and doing videos, getting a YouTube channel up, getting a podcast up. Me and you do a podcast. The reason why we do a podcast is what we want to do is to educate and inform people, but you want them to talk to us. That's why we do these things, because we want people to talk to us. We're the experts in those fields. Like, you're an expert in your field, and you can help lots and lots of people. But if they don't know you exist, you'll never get any business. So that process, that client journey, is really, really important. But it needs to start from one place. That's, where do I send people? Where do people get the information that get them to know me? So you need things like downloads. You need investor packs. You need to provide this information so they get to know you, like you, trust you really, really quickly, and you drive people through traffic. So one of the biggest things is we need to put a sort of line between marketing and sales. The sales part is selling you, selling your solution, selling what you do. The traffic part is how you drive people to those solutions. So that's really where I'm at the moment.
That's brilliant. I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, particularly, we see this. I mean, you see this, I see this in the property world. Is everybody thinks it's all about price, and how much they can offer or how much they'll pay, and also it's about what features basically they're offering to that deal. And it's not. It's like you say, it's a psychology. It's emotion. People spend money or do deals on emotion. They want to work with you. So by having everything set up, as you have spoken through there, will really help people to move forward and be able to do the better deals. It'll build up that know, like, and trust quicker, and people will think, blimey, this is professional, and it's quite new as well. So it's a bit like, I haven't seen anything like this before. This is really, really good, and it makes life easy. And what does everybody want? And everybody wants an easy life at the end of the day. And like you say, trying to piece all of these things together, you've had people, I know you've spoken to me about them, you told us about a situation there where, people have spent a lot of money. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands on websites and stuff that just have not converted or worked for them. But putting this bespoken piece together, because you know the market and you know what's missing. So it's great. And that's the reason why, really, it's been great to have you, so to speak, come and join me today just to talk us through all of this, because I think people need to remember, and I say this all the time, a lot of the deals I've done haven't been because I've offered the most money. They've been because people want to work with me, because I've been able to find their pain point, which is a massive thing that we're always on about. And if you can speak in their language, find their pain point, and if you're running ads, that's all you want to be doing. You don't really want to be talking about your features. You want them to click on your ad because they like what you're telling them, and then they'll come and have a look at your features. And that's the whole different ball game. So I think what you put together there is superb. And I mean, if somebody was looking and thinking to themselves, now, do you know what? This sounds really, really good. This sounds like something that I need in my business. What would be the first sort of port of call for you? Because I know you do need, there is a level of work that us as an investor have to do. It's not a massive amount of work, but there's certain things that you need to be able to get your team and your business, obviously, to be able to put something together that is really sort of bespoken for that client.
Yeah, what we've done is we've created the whole product. We use a piece of software which does everything that the client needs, and so it has things like the pipeline, the CRM, email automation, SMS automation. It has the ability to create really good landing pages, and it has all the functionality in there. But if we was to build that from scratch, and which is what we do with a lot of industries, I've been doing this for a long time. We've helped hundreds of businesses to get online and that sort of thing. If we was to build it from scratch, it'd probably be around about sort of £8,000, £10,000, that sort of thing. What we've done is we've created what we call a snapshot of the perfect program, that we can just put into a client. And so what we can do now is we can drive that price right down, because what we're actually doing is customizing a pre-built system that we know works. It's a proven system. We know it works. I've used it for a long time, and I've actually put it into a lot of property people prior to actually building this program. But what it means is the work that a client would have to do, as you say, is pretty minimal. However, it's done through a process of what we call onboarding. So when a client comes on to us, we put an onboarding process in which we put in little chunks as we go through. So, the first thing we obviously need to do is we need to work on things like what URLs they're going to have, website addresses, that is, so what's the website address going to be? Most people haven't really thought about it. Some people already have websites, and they just want to transfer it into a funnel rather than having a website. So our tech team will do all that for them, so they don't have to worry about going into any technology and working it out. Doing the DNS stuff and all that really sort of boring tech stuff at the back end. We do all that for them. But most people that we're getting on board are really going from a position of going for the loan. They're property investors, and what they want to do is they want to step up to becoming property business owners, so they want to get out to a wider audience. They want to work with more investors, get an investor base. So when a product comes in, they've got investors to talk to, and they're the right investors because they've already qualified them. They've also can have a motivated seller website as well. So that's like a little bonus site we put in there, because some of our clients are saying, well, I really want to get some sort of motivated seller site. So yeah, we can put that in there as well. So we put that in as well. So you get two sites, and that's the deals and the money, motivated sellers and the investor site. And from that, we need just things like, working out what the website address is going to be. We help them to get their prospectus or their investor guide, their sort of investor pack up and running, which is downloadable. It's a downloadable PDF that will tell investors more about them, so who they are, what they do, how they help, that sort of thing. And we do those in templates. And I was doing one with a client last night, and they used one of our templates, which is really, really simple just to edit and put their own details in. So we need to get that done. It's all part of the onboarding process, but it's done step by step by step, so we don't overwhelm people, because it can get very overwhelming, because what we're actually providing, although we don't really like to talk about this, is a hell of a lot. There's a lot of process that goes in to get that end result really, really good. Now, we take on a lot of that stuff ourselves, because that's what we do. That's our job. That's our business. That's what we do. So what we do in the onboarding process is really to try and help the client to just do things step by step in easy incremental steps through the process. So at the end of the time, when we actually get the sites up and running, and they can go and run with them, we're going to go and start marketing them. Everything's done. Everything's in the right place. Like, we give a load of advice when people are doing things like their investor packs and things like that, because we know what they should be. But it's all these different little bits and pieces. We do all the emails for them. So all the emails are pre-written. All the automations when those emails go out. So if someone takes an action on the site, an email will go out. That's all already done. So what we do is we'll sit down with the client, and we'll just go through the emails and make sure it's in their language. And by that, I mean, everybody's got a personality. Some people are really sort of bombastic and sort of open and big. And so we need to sort of just rewrite those emails slightly. So the emails are all written. They're generically brilliantly written. We've worked really, really hard to get those emails right. But what we do is we sit down with the client, part of that onboarding process. It takes about 40 minutes. We just go through the emails. We say, look, how would you write that? How do you write down to the point of, how do you finish your emails normally? Do you say yours sincerely or all the best? What do you do? And we put that in there because we want their personality to come through. It's not about just a box product which is generic for everybody. This is really customized to everybody's personality. We help them with their sort of branding, their messaging, all that sort of thing, all the way through. In fact, a lot of the messaging is again pre-done, but we sit down and say, look, what do you want your headline to be? This is what it needs to be. This is the emotion that it needs to exude. But how would you say it? What's the way you would do it? And then we help them just get their messaging right. So, and all the pages are customized to their branding, their colors. So every site looks different and every site reads differently, although it's done on templates, because we know what the generic template should be, but we need to make sure that the client is getting their personality across, and but also following the genuine process of marketing. So hitting benefits rather than features. One of the biggest concepts in marketing is features tell, but benefits sell. So it's great to have the feature, but you've got to say that the benefit to you is, and people want to find out how you can help them, and that's the benefits that they derive from your solution. So the marketing or the messaging is really important. You don't just stick a load of information on a page. It has to be formulated in a certain way, so the client, when they go to that page, sort of follows a journey. It's like a little mental journey that makes them feel, do you know what? I think this is a company or a person that I could do business with. The sort of things they're doing is the sort of things that I like. And that encourages them to book a call. So we have a book a call software as well. So instead of using things like Calendly and Acuity, which again is another product you've got to bolt into something, that's all in the system as well. And so if you get your marketing right, you get someone to book a call with you. As soon as you get them on the phone, you've got an 80% chance of doing business with them. And that's really the whole point of it. It's the funnel technology focuses people down a route rather than just blurting information across a website. Websites are good for some things, but if you actually want to convert a site visitor into a client at the end of the day, whether it's on a motivated seller website or an investor website, you've got to get them to go through a specific route. You have to have a plan of action with it to get that sale at the end of the day or to buy that property. And the reason why we do automation is purely because human beings forget to do stuff. One of the things I'm solving with this is the manual connection with the client, whether that's a motivated seller or an investor. I know lots of people have had websites up, they put a form into it, and then they've just forgotten to phone someone up or forgotten to email them. So we automate it. We make sure that works, and when the automation works, it goes into a piece of pipeline software. So again, instead of buying something like Pipedrive or Podio or something like that, it's all in there. You don't have to worry about a number of different solutions. It's all in one solution, and this is probably the most important thing for me, is getting everything, all the technology in a one solution. They have one place to go. It just makes it so much easier. So all the customer has to really do is work the pipeline, like every sales organization. They should work the pipeline. When something comes in, you know about it. You'll get an email that someone has filled your form in. You'll get an email when you need to call them and that sort of thing. And so all the automation is really there just to make your life easier. It takes all the heavy lifting of running the business. So it's really, really simple. You get an email, you phone someone up. That's it. So you don't have to worry about all the technology at the back end to try and do that. We've done all that for them.
No, that's brilliant. And I think a lot of people, the old way of looking at a website is, and I mean, a website really is like a glorified business card. And that's what and everybody tries to do everything on it. So I've got a page for, investors. I've got a page for looking for deals. I've got a page for, potentially tenants and things. And I expect everybody to go onto their website like they would and go through all of these pages. And people just don't. People haven't got time to do that anymore. And that's why the birth of landing pages, where it's just sharp to the point, tells you what you want. Here's a call to action. And that's the important thing. And I think the fact that you've managed to do that and create something that keeps it all under one roof, so that somebody can go on there, read, like you say, look at the pictures, look at whatever, so some people will like the pictures. I'm a bit more of a picture person. I don't like loads of detail. So I'll read the bullet points, look at the pictures and decide what I'm going to do. Other people like the detail. So it's having that balance of that, but it's having that call to action that just works at the bottom for somebody like you say. 9 times out, well, I say 9 times, maybe 8 times out of 10, people won't go back to your website once they've clicked on it, will they? And you'll know this better than me, the stats and everything. But I know for a fact, even though I'm not a professional marketer or anything like that, but you learn things, you pick things up, which is why I've got you on. And it's all about, people won't normally come back and click on that thing. Now, some people will, but you've got to catch them then and there. So if somebody in that moment hits the emotional, the psychology part, there's that call to action that then you've got their details. So at least you can call them back, you can get back in contact with them, and you can see where it takes you. And I think the fact that you can do that for motivated sellers, and you can do it for getting investors, because 2 things that are very, very important to property investors, and that's obviously getting deals and getting clients as well.
Yeah, deals and money. That's the big things. So we hit both of those. But it's interesting what you say about the this concept of call to action. Call to action is a marketing term. It just means that you've got something which is that the client will only take that one action. A call to action is like, do this. And that is incredibly important. If we just look at the motivated seller site, on our motivated seller sites, what we do is we have one call to action. Now, I've seen motivated seller sites where they've got an about you page and all the rest of the things. And it's just distraction. On our motivated seller sites, we have one call to action. There is no navigation at all. There's a headline, a sub headline, a few bullet points, and a call to action. And that's it. There is nothing else. They can only do one thing on that site. So when a motivated seller comes to your site, they read the headline, which is really powerful. They read the strap line, which is really powerful. It's talking to them, and it's just got a button on there, and they click on that, opens up a form. They put their name, their email, and a telephone number in, and the details of the property in there, and then they just hit submit. Once that's done, an email goes out automatically saying, we've got your details, we'll contact you within 48 hours or 24 hours, or whatever your process is. And an email will then go to you as well, saying that this person's filled out the form. Here's their details, phone them up. That's it. It's really, really simple, but really, really powerful. So instead of making the mistake of trying to build a website, and one of the worst ones is when you're trying to do both on one website, because when people go into this, they say, well, I can't afford more than one website. And that website would have probably cost them anything between £1,500 to £2,000. So I've got to do my motivated seller stuff on there. I've got to do my investor stuff. I've got to put everything in there. Consequently, you put everything into the pot, nothing happens with anything. So what we're doing is we're splitting those 2 things out. That's why we provide 2 sites, one which is dedicated to motivated sellers, one which is dedicated to an investor-facing site where you're trying to look at or tell people who are potential investors, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how we can help you. Really, really simple psychologically, quite technically hard at the back end. That's why people won't be able to do this on their own. This is one of the biggest things. And if they do, it will take them a long time to get it all together, because they're using lots of different bits of software and also lots of different people to try and get that done. All we're doing with Property Pipeline Pro is simply saying, we'll put the whole thing in place for you. We know what we're doing. We're technically competent with all the pieces of software that we're using. In fact, it's just one piece of software that does everything, but we know exactly how to put it all together. We've done it already. We just put that into your own location under us, because we're an agency. So what we're doing is we're giving you the software to run it, and it's only one piece of software. You don't have to worry about duct taping 3 or 4 bits of software together, which is what stops people moving forward. The technology stops them moving forward, but it's also just trying to get them to get a product up and running that does the job. We know how it works. We know the psychology of it. We help everybody with their messaging all the way through it, put their branding in, and then they can just go, right, I've done that now. Now I can start doing things like my social media presence. I can start doing ads if I want to. Ads to a motivated seller site is pretty typical. But without that first part, you can't do any of the rest of it. So that's why we put that together. And it's a solution to a genuine problem. And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, if people are going to be running ads, you're going to be spending money on running ads, week on week, month on month. You need to be sending people somewhere, and you need to know that where you're sending them works. And I think, like you say, you can get your bolt-ons, your add-ons, but then one updates and it's not completely working with whatever it was connected to, because that needs to do an update. And then all of a sudden, you're sending adverts to maybe potentially a process that's not delivering the end result to you because it's not all coming through, because something else needs sorting out. And it is a living and breathing, so to speak, beast. Bolting everything together, you've got to stay on. And if you're not massively tech savvy, and I'm not massively tech savvy, so if somebody says to me, I can do a bespoke service for you, that's not only is it not a one size fits all, because it's actually bespoken to you, the service, then happy days. At the end of the day, if we're property investors, that's what we're good at. We're good at going out there, getting deals, dealing with motivated sellers, and making sure that we're building our property businesses. And I always like to think of property as a business. So it's about putting the other experts in your corner. Do you know what I mean? Everybody talks about a power team, don't they, in property investing? And they look at solicitors, they look at, finance guys, mortgage brokers and all of that sort of thing. But they never think about marketing. They never think about, systems that actually will bring the money in. Your power team, they're always looking at the power team that's going to cost them money, not the power team that can potentially make them money.
It is exactly that, and I think and that's the process that I went through as well. I went through the process of when I first started doing property, I was doing flips. I was doing flips and just buying some buy-to-let stuff, because I was buying property. I mean, I right at the top of this, I spoke about the sort of the cowboy Wild West version of property investment when I first started. My very first property, for instance, was an apartment, which I bought for something like 18% below market value, and I used the discount as a deposit, and I got paid $9,000 to buy the property. I mean, you can't do that anymore, obviously. But when I did that first one, I thought, why am I working? I might as well just do this. I might as well just do this if I get paid to buy property. It's fantastic. You can't do that anymore because, banks collapsed, and it was all because of those sort of things, But when I was doing flips, my power team were, the builders and the decorators and the mortgage broker and the solicitor and things like that. That was my power team, because I wasn't even thinking about going up to that next stage of maybe I could do these flips for other people. I never thought about that at the time, so I wasn't really thinking about the marketing. But as I say, there's a time when you go from property investor and you're doing some stuff and you're making a few quid here and there and sort of working with a few investors and things like that, and to the point where you go, actually, what I really want to do, I need to push this up another level. I need to become a business. I want to become a property business. So you'll talk to people about, how do I construct my company? So you've got people on within the PIN community who can do the legal stuff to help you become a proper company, and how you actually do your taxes and that sort of thing. Well, that's another step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Marketing is exactly the same. It's another step. If you're going from property investor to property business owner, you need to be a business owner. You need to run a business, and that's where you start going, okay, well, and I'm going to need some sort of presence on the internet. I need to go out to a much wider audience. I need to market myself. And this is why you do your social media postings. It's why you do your podcasts and your YouTube videos and things like that, because you're telling a wider audience, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I can help you. That is when you start thinking, okay, I really need to get some sort of presence online. I need to do it properly. I need to get it done, because that's the key thing. It's the speed of getting it done, so I can get on with the rest of it. You don't want to spend months or years trying to cobble together something that probably won't work at the end of the day, and spend all that time and that effort and money. Just get the bloody thing done, get it done, get it up there, get it working. Then you can go, you can trot on, you can start moving the needle in your business. You can go and start doing those podcasts or those emails those videos and things like that. You can start thinking about, how can I put some ads together? How can I do an ad which is targeted to Bristol, which is my place. I just want to get properties in Bristol. How can I target people in Bristol who want to sell their property fast? How can I do that? Who can I go to? And so you need to go to a company who does that. I've got some people that I know who do really good stuff on that level. But that's the next step. So get your property business up and running, get it automated, making sure it works properly, then start doing your social, and then you start doing your ads. And that's the process it has to do. From the customer's point of view, it's the other way around. But from the build point of view, you get one thing done, you get your presence online done, get it robust and make it work. Then you go back to doing things like your social and your ads to start driving traffic to those sites. It's not difficult, but if you don't have that mindset and you don't know that process, then it's, what do? You've got nowhere to go, you don't know where to start and things like that. So that's all we're doing, is just trying to get that thing done first, get it done right, and then you can start doing the rest of your marketing, because marketing and sales is different disciplines.
Yeah.
Sales is what we do from site visitor to conversion to whatever it is, whether that's a motivated seller or an investor. Conversion, that's what we do. But marketing, the other side of that, is your social presence, your advertising, you're doing your blogs, doing all those sort of things, getting out and getting people to know I can trust you, and then driving them to your sites. It should be simple. It should be, from a holistic point of view, this 1,000-foot view of a process, it should be pretty simple. It's quite hard to implement, and you've got to get the right people in to do it. But, you need to get it done. You need to work hard to get that done. And as we've spoken about in the past, Mark, marketing is probably marketing and sales is probably the most important part of any business. If you get it wrong, you don't get sales. If you get it right, you do. And it's really that simple. It doesn't really matter how good you are. If no one knows you exist, or no one knows what you do or how you do it, no one's going to buy from you. So from any point of view, from any business, any industry, any sector, that process of marketing your business, getting out to a wide audience, making sure they understand what you do, and getting that desire. When we talk about, people have talked about this AIDA process. You've heard of the AIDA process, where attention, interest, desire, and action. It's a funnel. Interest at the top, attention at the top. Get people to know who you are, like you, trust you, that sort of thing. Getting interest, well, that's information. This person sounds interesting, or this company sounds interesting. Getting to the point of desire, where they really fancy having a chat with you, and maybe they can work with you. The interest and desire is sort of coupled together, but it's getting people to think, do you know what? I think I want to call with them. I think I want to talk to them. I think I'll email them, or, maybe phone them up, or maybe book a call with them. Maybe just I need to talk to them and see if if we fit very well, especially with investors. Investors want to, as I say, they don't have a lot of time, but they've got money to invest, and so they want to know if you're a good fit. Well, that's the sort of desire part of it, and then the action is when people say, yeah, I want to do something with you. And you need to have a process to help them to take that action. And this is all marketing. This is all automation and things like that. It's get that done properly. Start your social process. Maybe get into ads at some point if needed. That's the whole point of it. If social's working great, then that's wonderful. But it's going to point where you're going to go, I need to get out, and my social isn't reaching the right people. I need to go from ads into the sites, and then you're starting to build this robust business at the back end, which is just churning people through and filtering out. This is the whole point of the funnel. It's filtering out the right people. So you might get 100 people at the top. Only 10 of those are really genuinely the right people for you, and you need to filter them down, give them information until they take action at the end of the day. And it might only be a small amount of those people, but they're the people that are going to make your business sing.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the old saying: if you try and chase two rabbits, you're not even going to catch one.
Yeah.
Why be the expert of both things? Do you know what I mean? And it can take. I think marketing gets overlooked a lot. I'll just send some letters. I'll just send some emails. I'll just do the odd post here and there. It's a constant beast. It's a job in itself at the end of the day. So if your full focus has to be on building a business, on going out there, like you say, negotiating, doing the sales side of things, then the marketing piece, you just want working for you in the background. You just want leads coming through. And like you say, going through the funnel, going through that process means that the leads normally, when they get to the bottom, are going to be better leads. They're going to be better quality, less wasting of your time. And at the end of the day, we've all only got so much time. It's about how we use it. So I think it's a phenomenal bit of kit. And I know for a fact that, you're talking to people and going through demos and things like that as well. So, we'll put links to the show notes to Property Pipeline Pro, so you can go and have a look for yourself. and have a look at one of Andy's pages as well that he's been talking about and things. But it's a phenomenal piece of kit, and I'm conscious of your time, Andy, and I do appreciate you coming on and things. But near the end, I like to do a quick fire round, if you like, and I'm normally interested in a few bits and bobs and stuff like that. So the one of the questions I like to ask is, if you could sit down around a table and have a meal with three people, dead or alive, who would you like to sit with?
This has got nothing to do with marketing.
No, nothing at all. This is just fun.
I think Jimi Hendrix. Mainly because when I was a kid, Jimi Hendrix was just mind blowing. It's one of the reasons why I'm a musician. I'm not a guitarist; I'm a drummer. But and some people say that's not actually a musician. No, but I think Jimi Hendrix would be incredible to sort of sit down and just sort of find out about his life, and I think he's just an incredibly interesting character. And I guess maybe Peter Gabriel as well. I know they're both musicians, but Peter Gabriel was a big influence on me and my band at the time. And Genesis in particular, old Genesis, not Phil Collins' Genesis particularly, but the old Genesis. So I think, yeah, sort of Hendrix and Gabriel and people like that. You know, anybody who's changed the course of music, I think, is the big for me. And also, I'm very old, so I go into the old. I go into the old 70s stuff. I mean, 70s was the big thing for me. That was yeah. There's a few people politically. I don't know. I'm not really massively political. I'm not sort of left or right. I'm pretty neutral in those sort of things. Yeah, so musicians, I think, would be I'd have just a bunch of musicians around the table having a chat. It'd be great.
Yeah, I know that's your passion and everything. So no, that's great. That's great. Do you have any podcasts, top 3 podcasts that you like to listen to?
There's quite a few. I mean, listen to Simon's one because it just hits every single subject you ever want to listen to, you know. And there's and he's got so many, and you can pick and choose which one. So Simon Teacher's one, I think, is really good. I'll listen to yours now. I didn't even know you did one until about probably 2 months ago. Because it's very difficult to just keep up with everything. But so I started listening to yours because we started talking, because we talk anyway. I mean, we've been talking for years. And then when I realised you got a podcast, I took a listen to that, and again, the podcasts you do, I think, are really good. But there's with podcasts, I listen to things right across. I listen to a lot of things about psychology, or you know, I love podcasts. I think podcasts are a great way to just get into the minds of other people. And I normally listen to them when I'm in bed. I just sort of put some headphones on, listen to podcasts in bed, and so I go right across the gambit of podcasts. I listen to a lot of different stuff. I listen to a lot of authors' podcasts as well. There's some good author podcasts as well about, you know, process of writing and things like that, because that's always fascinated me as well. So yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
That's good. And of course you have your own as well, don't you?
I do, yeah. That's relatively new and totally focused on property marketing. And so I'm not particularly talking just about the stuff that I do. I'm talking, I mean, the last one I'm doing, which I'm going to be uploading soon, is about this holistic 1,000-foot view of a process. Because one of the things I've realized when talking to clients, and it's a process of property marketing, you know, specifically I'm niching down into property marketing, because I think one of the things that I want to try and get over to people is they've got to sort of stand back and have a look at what is it you want to try and build. Because if you don't know what the complete solution should look like, it's very difficult to actually start putting those things in place. So my last podcast is all about that, but I've done podcasts on, you know, landing page design and, you know, other bits and pieces that will help people to understand, you know, some of the processes behind it, some of my thought processes behind it, because I talk to my clients about this, but, you know, I thought if I do a podcast as well, which I've got on YouTube and Google and, you know, you name it, all the major platforms. If I can do that, then I can genuinely help people in getting their mindset in the right place, because mindset's really important. It's like with everything else, with the property mindset, that Simon talks about and you guys talk about. It's really important to have a very good mindset, understand what you're trying to achieve and be positive about where you're going and things like that. And it's exactly the same with marketing. If you have a marketing mindset, when you're thinking about something, don't just think about the feature, think about the benefit. When you're talking to people, it will help. If you're doing videos, it will help. If you understand what people need from you, which is marketing, if you understand their needs, desires, their pain points, and all the things that we've talked about today, then when you're talking to people, if you're doing a video or you're doing a blog post, you're always thinking about how do I get this information across in a way that's going to drive people to me.
Yeah.
That's what marketing is about. It's not about selling. Selling is about sort of conversion. It's about getting people from one place to the next. Marketing is more about, why should you talk to me? Why should you phone me up? How can I help you to get from where you are right now to where you want to be? And how do I relate that in the assets that I'm creating? So if I do a blog post, how is that making people think, maybe I ought to talk to this person? Maybe this is the person that can help me in my situation. Because that's what marketing is all about. Yeah. It's not just about giving information. It's giving information with the thought in the back of your mind of, if I write this down or if I do this video, how is that going to drive people to me? That's really it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's great. And was it Property Pipeline Pro podcast, is it?
Yeah, you can put a link in there. You can put a link into this.
Everything.
Yeah, stick a link in there.
Brilliant. Listen to that. Great. Do you have a top 3 books?
They change all the time. They seriously change all the time. I mean, I read a book called Sell Like Crazy when I was on holiday. So that was a really good one. It's really weird. It's from a marketer, and everything in there I know. And I'm not being big-headed. It's just that I've been in the industry for so long. Everything in there I know. However, it really inspired me to come back and change a few things. Okay. Because every so often you read something and I've forgotten to do that. I teach people these things, but I've forgotten to do that one thing. So when I came back off holiday, I started doing some more bits and pieces with our marketing for Property Pipeline Pro and my other business, Funnel Centrics, which is like the more generic, building funnels for different industries. To me, that a lot of it is reminding, but. I read a lot of the stuff that I actually read are, philosophy books and the things like that, because just the mind fascinates me. The human mind is just absolutely incredible. The imagination, the way we construct things, the way empires are built, the way empires are destroyed. It's like this whole human journey is just incredible to me. And so a lot of the stuff I read aren't marketing books. They aren't property books. They're books on the human psyche and things like that. And again, it's just because it fascinates me, just the way we think. So I read a lot of sort of philosophy books. That's pretty boring, but I do.
Hey, each their own. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Yeah. So if people are listening to this or watching this, depending on how you prefer to get your platforms, how can anybody reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out to you if they want to find out more about you or Pro?
Yeah, I think, you'll stick a link into the Property Pipeline Pro page. You stick a link into the podcast, and you can also stick a link in to just have a phone call with me. When I do phone calls, there's no high pressure sales. You're either right or you're not. You either want to do it or you don't. I'm just here to help the people who want to go forward and do things. But I'm quite happy if you think you're at the point where you want to get onto the next level and start a property business, then just give me a call. Even if it doesn't pan out, you're not quite ready or anything like that, I'm more than happy to talk to people. So you can stick a link into my call booking, and we can start having a chat, because talking is actually the most important thing. Even if you're not quite ready yet, just jump on a call with me. I'm quite happy to do it. I do it all day. I'm talking with people all day. It's what I do. So just book a call. We can have a little chat, see if it's right for you. If it's not a problem. One thing I've never done is sales. I was one of the top salespeople in IT, but I never did a sales call ever. I never tried to get people to do anything they didn't want to do. My whole thing with sales, when I was top sales guy in IT, was I solved people's problems, so whether that was a delivery problem or whatever it was, and people got to know me and like me and trust me enough to phone me up, have a little chat, and that's all you need to do. Just give us a call, but you can stick a link into that below as well, and so people can book a call with me, and then we can see if it's right for you.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate the fact that you've came on as well. And it's fantastic to hear about, Property Pipeline Pro and the other things that you've got going on. And it'd be great to have you back and see how things are progressing and going in the future. And obviously we can talk a bit more about marketing, because I know myself how important it is to, as property investors, to get our marketing right, to get out there, to be able to talk to people, to be able to put our points across, and to be able to, of course, bring leads in, buy properties, and build our businesses. So Andy, once again, thank you for coming on. It's been great to have you, and we'll speak to you again in the future, I'm sure.
Thanks, Mark. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I love talking about this stuff. So, if you've got some question about marketing, stick them in the comments, and then I can come back and we can have a little chat about that specific thing.
Brilliant. Well, as always, check the show notes, check the links, have a little look at everything. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to keep focusing on your vision, keep pushing forward, and bye for now.
See you later.